Hello, my friends. Welcome. Happy Sunday. Normally, Sundays are my days off from the socials, but I'm doing that tomorrow. So I won't be live tomorrow because I have a day 2 of a workshop I am attending with Deb Dana, who is a leader in the polyvagal theory, which is all about our nervous system and cutting edge stuff really about how our nervous system is really a leading driver for basically our existence and the way that we relate to ourselves and the world around us. More on that. Obviously, that is it's a founding pillar of what I do in my practice and with myself. So if you're interested in learning more, reach out to me. I'd be happy to chat with you about that. Today, let us talk about healing that pattern of attracting the same toxic relationships over and over. Wherever you are in your current journey, one second, how to get the Starbucks today? Wherever you are in your current journey, I saw this happen for me in friendships. I saw this happen for me in family relationships, obviously romantic relationships and dating. I saw this happen for me with my relationship with money. And what I would love to do is point out some things to consider if you are kind of on this realm. Hold on one second. I'm doing a little thing in my computer. Okay, I'm back. So some things to consider. First of all, let us set the stage here in this container that we have right now between us, that this pattern does not mean that you are broken. It doesn't mean that you're unfixable. It doesn't mean that you are just, hey, and the reason I'm saying this is because I've been in this space. It does not mean that you are just destined for this because this is what your parents' relationship was like. And that is the one that really, really hit home with me, because I noticed that my relationship with my family or my parents' relationship was being modeled in one of my really toxic relationships. And I remember having to come to terms with that in the way of defeat, not in the way of, I don't want this anymore, and as a motivation for healing and changing and stepping into my growth and my purpose and my journey, but in a way of, oh, this is just how it is. This is what I'm destined for, and I'm just going to have to deal with it. And wow, what a spiritual crisis that is, right? Like, what a spiritual crisis. So again, this is all from my experience and my growth. So I hope that, it does lend you hope for where you are. But some things to consider today. If you're noticing yourself, like for friendships, I had a hard time for a long time letting people get close to me. I was obviously very outgoing. I masked some of my pain with humor. I was a likable person. Pardon me. I am a likable person. But also, there was definitely a barrier between how I didn't know how to have safe, deep relationships. And so that ended up sometimes in a lot of conflict with my friends, where I wasn't able to express my desires, or express how they may have hurt me. I would just run away. And that happened. It happened a lot, which is really sad. But here I am, in my growth and in my power today, which is awesome. There's lots of learning experiences out there. So yeah, if you're noticing this pattern of why am I having so much trouble with these different types of relationships. And if you're kind of at the point where maybe you've passed through the anger or the defeat, or you want to know more, or if you're curious about it, this is what I'm hoping with you. That's my intention for coming on today. So a couple things come in play, from what I know, come into play with this scenario. One is that likely this pattern of not being seen, not being heard, whatever the core issue is, the pattern of we have these behaviors, right? That we see, and we get mad at them, and then we think that we have to change the behaviors, but it's more about the core issues, the root cause of why this keeps happening. For example, if you I can't tell you how many times that I've deleted a dating app. It's a lot, because I kept getting frustrated and I didn't feel aligned in that process. I didn't feel aligned with that energy. I forgot where I was going with this. Oh, so the process of attracting that type of energy, attracting that whatever it is, if that anger, that disconnect with this relationship that you have on the forefront of your mind, in some ways it does replicate your internal state. And this is not because you're broken, it's just because of what you know. So this is where our nervous system really comes into play sometimes with this, is because if we, a lot of things can be traced back to some very developmental times in our lives, like childhood. And I know this is triggering to some people because it can get annoying. Sometimes I get it by saying, oh, you were messed up in childhood and so you're messed up now. If that's you, I would love you just to notice that, right? Notice those triggers that are coming up for you, and try to heal those, or come to a relationship with those triggers, so that it allows you, it's a great protective mechanism because it's not allowing you to look deeper. That was a sidebar. So getting back to this pattern, is that our nervous systems may have been from a young age been attuned to this type of relational pattern. So whatever your core needs are, and if you don't know your core needs, that would be a great exercise for you to kind of understand. Again, reach out, message me if you need help with that. I have a lot of great programs available just for this. But if you don't know what your core needs are, which it may be hard. I can't say that was an easy thing for me to come into connection with. But if your core needs aren't being met in those developmental years, and they're not being met by you or by safe people in your life that that are safe or are brought in for that safety, for example, a therapist or a coach, or maybe even a community, then it will search for safety in other people or other things that aren't really safe. And it'll search for the same pattern. And this is an unconscious and subconscious thing. This is not something that you can be oh, I'm never going to date that type of guy again. And then the freak, he shows up. It's super frustrating. But that brings me to the other point, is that, so the nervous system only knows, to the nervous system, safety is insane. Meaning what you already know, even though it's messed up, even though it doesn't feel grounded and connected, even though, whatever it is, even though it doesn't feel like it's not meeting your core needs, and now you know that, if you're at the point in your journey where you're becoming aware, even though it doesn't make sense in your head, your nervous system only knows safety in normalcy. It only knows safety in sameness. And so there's an unconscious thing that happens with our nervous system where, even though it's messed up for us, until we heal those emotional wounds, until we heal that, we are going to keep repeating the same patterns because our nervous system, that's the way it's wired. So healing those emotional wounds rewires our nervous system for a different type of safety, which is what we want. I hope that hits for you. The other thing is that, and I think I mentioned that, is that searching for these different things on the outside of ourselves to meet our core emotional needs will never work. Because there is a deep part of us that needs to heal. It's an internal aligning process of coming into self, is coming into authenticity, whereby we have to teach those parts of ourselves that it is safe to be with us, like our self, our aligned self, so that we don't look outside for love, for validation, for connection. So healing those emotional wounds at their core and at their root does this. So I hope that helps. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. And lastly, I want to say, like, your conscious mind and your protector part of you is going to say that this may be bullshit. And I get that. Like, that part is there for a reason of deep protection. But if any of this hits for you in your awareness journey, consider, is this really what I want? Or is this just what my nervous system is trained to accept right now because that's all I know, right? This pattern again and again and again and again. And also, are these needs that are trying to be met, what are they? And how do I meet them with myself and self-regulation? And how do I find safe people to meet them in co-regulation? So through co-regulation, you get self-regulation in this nice little umbrella bubble container deliciousness. It's so good. And that is basically, in short, in just a few minutes, how you start to heal this pattern is getting down to those emotional wounds. Love you guys. Thanks for hanging today.